Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Roxbury International Film Festival Daily Script Reads. Today, we're so excited to have this script by Lois Roach. And we are going to be hearing, after the reading, we'll have two separate short readings and then the talk back. So once one is finished, stay on and we'll have the second one and then a talk back. These readings are works in progress. And so the writers love to hear what you have to say, if you have any ideas, how it struck you, all of that. And after this, definitely come to the Roxbury International Film Festival in person at the MFA starting at 5 tonight. There'll be a series of films. So without further ado, I introduce Lois.
Hello, my name is Lois Roach, and I'm very happy to be here on this day. Thank you.
Thank you. And Christy.
Hi, I play Lena, and my name is Christy Ferris.
Thank you. David.
Hi, my name is David J. Curtis, and I'll be playing the role of Fingers.
Thank you. Naheem.
Hi, my name is Naheem Garcia, and I will be playing Leonard.
And my name is Andrea Lyman. I will be playing Mabel. And and we have Kadaj.
Hello, people. My name is Kadaj Bennett, and I will be your narrator. We have two scenes for you from Lena and Leonard. We will start off with a night at Wally's. Interior, bedroom to kitchen to living room. This is 1 year later. Night. The house fills with activity as Lena and Leonard get dressed to go out. Their two children, James and now baby Sarah, watch in confusion. Mabel puts her spit everywhere. She wipes the child's face, then wipes Lena's makeup. She walks towards Leonard, and he gives her one look that stops her cold. She moves to apply her spit to something or someone else. Fingers is playing at Wally's tonight.
Come on, Lena. We're going to be late.
I'm hurrying now.
Baby Sarah Jane says, "Mama's pretty."
She sure is, baby girl.
You're not so bad yourself, Mr. Morgan.
Why, thank you, Mrs. Morgan.
Now, how late are you two staying out? Don't come back here all hours of the night. I got church to go to in the morning.
You might need to go now to stop praying for all your sins.
We don't have time for this. I'm going on a date with my husband. Mabel, take care of my children. Pay attention to Auntie Mabel now.
Mrs. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Interior, Wally's Cafe, just moments later. Lena and Leonard sit in a tight corner of the club. The tables and people are on top of each other, but no one seems to mind. There's a small dance floor at the front of the stage, and it's hard to get to. Fingers walks on stage. He nods and touches his heart as he sees Leonard in the crowd. He's putting a hurting on that sax as he's working the stage and bringing the crowd to its feet. Lena smiles coyly at her husband, giving him a kiss on his cheek. When the set is done, Fingers joins them.
Man, my man. So good to see you. Man, you look no worse for the wear. This must be the lovely Lena. You are more beautiful than he could ever describe.
Fingers takes a seat.
Thank you.
No, thank you. It is a pleasure to finally meet you.
And to meet you. I read all your letters.
Not all of them. Man, it sure is good to see you. I never thought I'd see you back here.
I gotta say, that makes two of us, but it is good to be here. The U.S. is home, for better or worse.
What's Paris like?
We live about 20 minutes outside of the city in Montreal. You both should come visit. Man, I got a son.
What? Let me see.
He's handsome.
6 months grown. I like to think he's the best of both worlds. I feel like maybe he's gonna have a chance, you know? He's smart and keeps his mom and me on our toes.
That they do, my brother.
You know, that's right. Je suis un meilleur homme à cause de lui. He makes me a better man.
Man, you speak French and shit?
Got to, thanks to my wife. I guess France ended up giving me a life I didn't expect. Sarge and his Harlem Nights did me a favor.
Mm-hmm. Damn, make a brother speak in tongues.
You have to bring them both the next time that you come.
It sounds good. I hear you got a few yourselves.
Yeah, man.
Lena pulls out the pictures.
That's James, and this is his sister, Sarah Jane.
Wow, man. Who'd have thought?
It's all a mystery to me.
What's it like?
People love the music.
Mm.
They like you better if you speak their language. I ain't gonna lie, that took me a minute.
Mm.
We play regular in a club that's underground, like they just dug a spot in a hole with the rocks all around. It was the first place I saw my wife. I saw her from the stage and it was over.
Over.
Man, she made me work though.
Oh.
And the guys and me are working. We play all over Europe. Got quite a following.
Good ones always do.
Mm-hmm.
As they talk, Leonard pays attention to a man who seems a bit drunk near the dance floor.
What have you seen?
I've seen a lot. We tour clubs all over it. Let them know you were a soldier. That's got to be worth a meal or a drink somewhere. And the cafes where you sit outdoors and drink and order your bread right out the oven. Great people.
And you feel at home?
I am home. I'm a Louisiana boy in Paris. I just feel like I can make my own opportunities.
Yeah.
Like I can make this life work. It's on me.
I'm understanding. It is what it is. I think it works no matter where you are.
Mm-hmm. Hey man, what's up with the construction business?
Oh man, you know how it is. I'm just trying to put all the pieces together.
Pieces.
You ever think about leaving here, man? Trying things out in a new space.
I don't know. What we know is here.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't know what you know till you step away. Get another perspective. Seems Lena might be up for a visit at least.
We have to go. I want to see it all.
Babe, I could find you an outdoor cafe. Heck, I'll ask Wally to put a table out in the street right now. Anything for my babe. Man, how long are you here for? Can I get you over by the house?
Next time. We move on to New York right after the last set, which means I better get back up there.
So good to see you, man.
Next time. Lena, don't need to wait for him to come visit. My lady and me will take good care of you. You can leave him at home.
That's good to know.
Some shoving happens in the crowd up front.
Man, it seems like we've been here before. Let me get out the way.
Yeah, I'm out, man. Love you, man. Holler next time you come through.
Folks try to get through the shoving and try to get it under control. Leonard moves through the crowd, blocking for Lena and gets her outside. Fingers takes the stage and plays furiously. He uses the music to change the mood of the crowd. The drunk man becomes a solo dancing man. Fingers waves once again towards Leonard and Lena as they reach the door. Exterior, Wally's, a few minutes later. Leonard moves to the edge of the sidewalk and puts his arm around Lena. Old school, grown man. He walks her to the bus stop.
What's that mean? Been there before.
It's a long story. Let me take my baby home.
I wanted to dance.
You wanted to grind with your husband? Isn't that the way? Isn't that what got this started in the first place? With your fast self.
He puts his arms around her and begins to sway. He turns her in a spin reminiscent of the night they first met.
Oh, so now everything's my fault?
They dance a moment longer, then laugh as Leonard hails a passing cab. Scene 2. The front porch. Exterior. Late summer, 1966. A porch at night. Lena and Leonard sit on the front porch, different from its stark northern cousin. This porch has 2 chairs and a table, plus pots of flowering plants. Lena and Leonard move to different locations as they speak, creating distance between each other. They move from railings to the chairs at the table. They are 2 prize fighters, weary of a fight, ending up together in the end.
Beautiful night.
Nice night.
Nice and quiet.
Real quiet. When I was in town at Folsom's drugstore, there was talk of folks marching on the Whistle Stop Diner.
Them folks at the Whistle Stop have never given us any problems. Folsom needs to be careful.
No problem. They haven't given me any problems because I can't go in there and sit where I want. Like Fingers always says, this is my country too. I should be able to go anywhere I damn well please. You know how it feels? Getting run down by your own country.
We didn't run, Lena. Don't go there.
I will go there. My children are of this country. I want them to be able to go anywhere and do anything and be anything they want to be. Leonard, there's people coming from all over to help us fight our battles. We can't just sit here. You told me this was going to be an opportunity. Well, here it is.
Lena, what are you really talking about?
Leonard, you know that I know. And I know you. You've never been good at keeping a secret from me. I could smell her before you walk in the room.
No harm, Lena. I just needed a place to feel important again. To talk things through. That's all.
Did I do that, Leonard Morgan?
Be tough. It's not all your fault. Some of it is mine too.
Maybe I should go back home. Take a minute. For the both of us.
That's not what I'm talking about.
No. It's a chance I'm taking.
Can't let you take my children.
Lena reaches for him. They sit in silence. Scene.
Welcome back to all of the cast. Thank Thank you, thank you so much, Lois, for sharing your talent and sharing your script. And thank you to the cast. Wow, I thought you just flew me away, all of you. So Lois, what's the origin story for this script? What made it come to your mind to write this? Oh, you're muted.
It began when a very long time ago, I was trying to figure out what happened to Blue Hill Avenue.
Oh,
And I was trying to understand when did Blue Hill Avenue burn? Because I was a kid and I vaguely remembered it. And I had a debate, as one does when they are young, with the most amazing Sarah Ann Shaw, who I worked with at WBZ. And I told Sarah Ann that Blue Hill Avenue burned in 1968 with the rest of the riots. And Miss Sarah said to me, "My dear, as one knows," and she said, "I think you need to do a little research because that's not how it happened." And I never forgot that moment. And I did my research. And then when things started happening around 2014, 15, 16, with all of the different riots and stories that were happening around the country, I came back and I revisited this idea. And so the hook for me was the riot that happened in Boston in June of 1967. And with that, I then began to move to the richness in the community before those riots happened, and how those riots hooked and have changed the neighborhoods as we know them now. And it always comes back to the land and where and how is the land valued. So I start in the very beginning during World War II, which is where Lena and Leonard meet at a house party. Back in the day when we used to be able to safely have house parties, and then take it all the way beyond the riots up until the election of Obama. So it's a love story, it's a bit of a history story, and it's a story of elders in there as well.
and unlike some of our other writers this week, you have had experience with having readings and having actors read your work. But have you had much experience with actors reading works in progress? And how is that compared to something that you have fully cast? What's the difference?
I mean, for me, it's always works in progress. So that's always been my experience in this town. And I'm also a teacher. So my students believe that, and some rightfully so, that they are brilliant and that everything they write the first time is amazing. But the biggest challenge is oftentimes how to edit your material and how to work with actors and get the material understood, or have the questions asked that make it better. And I think people are surprised. First of all, I enjoy the writing process, but I also enjoy hanging out with the actors and the editing process. Christy and Naheem have been part of the script and around the script, as has Kadaj since the very beginning. Christy and Naheem have probably seen more versions than Kadaj, and he's like, "Oh, this has changed now." But and who knows? I made some edits as recently as this week when I shared it with somebody else. So it's just a script to me is a living, breathing process. And I hope that answered that question.
It did. And did you hear anything today where an actor read something and said, huh, never thought of it that way? Anything that changed anything?
Always. Always. So at a certain point in time, you got to, you know, redo the copyright and get out the way.
Okay. Any of the actors have any thoughts or comments? And then we'll get things from the audience too. How it felt
I
to read?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I get the opportunity to do a lot of readings, and I think if anybody's out there who is a writer, you know, anything that has to do with the field, I think it's so important to hear it out loud. And it's also important for the actors to actually say what's on the script and not do their own ad libs, because we'll think that it's a good script, but that's because you did a lot of ad libs, and the writer, I believe, needs to hear what's on the page so that they know what they have written and what needs to be adjusted. But I think it's more important for people to do readings anytime you're doing a script, to hear it out loud and to maybe switch out actors to hear how everybody interprets the material. So these are always fun to see from the beginning to the end. And obviously, I've been from the very beginning with Lois's stories, so I'm enjoying the process of seeing how it changes, you know, and how she makes it better and you know, enlightens it. So I think it's a great, incredible story. So thank you for allowing me to participate.
For me, I fell in love with the script the first time I read it. And I read about 4 different scripts, not this one, but 4 different scripts that she has written. And out of all of them, I love them all, but this is my favorite for a lot of reasons. One, it is Boston, and it is focused on Roxbury, and it's telling our story, how we impacted history, how we impacted people's lives, how the dynamics and the demographics has changed because of these changes. And to find out that, you know, that women got pissed off at the welfare office and chained themselves up. Something happened, set everything on fire, and it ran through the entire, almost Blue Hill Avenue. Because for years I thought it happened because of Martin Luther King. And I said, man, since I was a little boy, I said, all these places been boarded up for 40 years. And then to find the real story when Lois put that, I said, oh, shoot, I didn't know that. And, you know, it's just fascinating. It is a history lesson. It is a beautiful story about folks in Roxbury. It is a beautiful story about us, and it's important to tell. And I think every playwright in America that is writing about their town should tell their story, because the reality of life, how many of us knew what was going on here? I mean, this is a little bit, but after you read the full script, you find out so much. You start connecting the dots. Like I thought it was Martin Luther King. I thought everybody burnt up the place with Martin Luther King. And I'm cussing people out for about 40 years until I find out, no, sisters were fighting for their rights. They wasn't getting what they wanted. They stood up. Not the men, the women stood up. The men may have followed later, but the women stood up, and the rest is history.
Thank you, Naheem. For me, as the cast knows, there are 3 things that really, you know, I have the privilege of helping to cast this for the read last year at the Daily Reads, along with Naheem and Andrea. That was awesome to witness and to read then. And now that we have this scene taking, the first scene taking place at Wally's, the funny thing about that is I grew up around the corner from Wally's. That's number 1. So I know Wally's very well. Number 2, as an 11-year-old kid, I actually played drums at Wally's. That was a whole nother thing. That was just mind blowing. And number 3, I was in the military, and I happened to play in a band when I was stationed overseas and in France. So that's my connection to this story. It's really, really amazing connection. And I I just saw all of that, all of that. Um, and the story is just, it's an amazing story. And I see it doing, uh, I see the whole story, and it's a beautiful love story and historic lesson. Thank you, Lois.
I often say in the log line that they survived a war, a riot, and each other.
Mm.
So they survived World War II, the riot that destroyed Blue Avenue, and Lord knows each other. And just in an aside, one of my neighbors passed away recently, and I asked his wife, I said, how long were you together? And she said 72 years. I don't have how, and when I look at Lena and Leonard, man, they stuck it out through all kinds of, imagine that, 1940 something all the way to when was Obama first elected in 2000, and that's a lot of life. That's a lot of life. And we need to get these stories from our elders.
Yes. Yes, I definitely agree with that. We just had a senior luncheon with Rox International Films, and a couple of my friends were in their hundreds. One's going to be 100 this year. Another person I brought is 113. And I thought this would be the perfect time for filmmakers to get together and have a conversation and get the stories, because all of these women have wonderful stories and they actually are able to share them. And I've been talking with the person that's 113 and finding out things that I didn't really know, things that you take for granted of way certain things go, and you find out, oh, I see, like 100 years ago, this wasn't a thing. Like, oh, kids could totally be on their own, without any parents. You think orphans are go to an orphanage or taken care of by adult relatives, but that didn't always happen. And if you had a house, children raised themselves alone 100 years ago, because child welfare wasn't what it was, and especially in the Black community. So you learn that kind of thing. And we have a question that I'm going to get, but one other thing I just wanted to say, because people take it for granted. Yes, you have a great story. Yes, your writing is wonderful, but the actual words that you write are easy for the actor to say, because it's the way people speak. Because so often when we're doing things as actors, we make it into a way that people speak, but so often writers write something and the story's great, but the actual words that you're saying, things like they don't have contractions, and people they say it is, or I am going to the store, and it's like, that's not the way people actually speak. And your words just flow. It's just it's just easy. And so let me to this person said, wow, Valerie Fox says, Lois, you are amazing. And you are. I enjoyed oh no, it just disappeared. She enjoyed Leonard and Lisa, but all of a sudden, oh, that's weird. The Q&A.
I can read it. It
Okay.
said, Lois, you are, let me put them glasses back on. Okay.
I don't know why.
Lois, Lois, you are amazing. I enjoyed Lena and Leonard. Thank you for sharing your phenomenal story. I love Roxbury. Today, it is changing quickly, specifically old school Roxbury, Dudley Square, a new and diverse neighborhood. Vincent and I have been married 50 years. I am excited to be working with seniors and recapping their stories. And then that it might have ended, but yeah, that's what I have there.
Yeah. Oh,
Valerie Fox.
Valerie is history. And Valerie has been in that end of town since the very beginning. And like she said, Valerie and Vincent, these are folks that need to be interviewed. When I was in college, Valerie used to hire me as part of the Valerie Fox had an entertainment company. And when I was at Emerson, Valerie used to hire me for gigs to read my poetry wherever they were, performing or putting up shows. And, back in those days, a nice little check while you were in college could either buy a meal or buy a book. Okay, buy a meal or buy a book. So I'm very excited that Valerie just tuned in. That's huge. And again, Valerie's another writer. Her whole family has written stories and plays and had entertainment shows. So back when I was an actor, that's what you used to do. And now I'm going to come back to Wally's because we are losing those hooks and anchors. I think of Connolly's as being one of those spaces where we did not have. Connolly's was closed 20 years before it needed to be closed. I think of the Harriet Tubman House. And I know I'm not against progress, please. Stuff has to happen. People have to have places to move. People have to have places where they can afford to live and breathe. But also at the same point in time, we need to be able to, whether visually, creatively, actively, we've got to find some kind of way to capture these stories.
Definitely.
Well, it was also, I'm sorry, go, Dash.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think the connecting to all of that, the wonderful thing about this piece is like it works as a time capsule to hold on to all of the history that is often erased or suppressed or washed away or forgotten about from Boston. So like Valerie and like these locations like Connolly's, like there are so many places and people that should be recognized that we should know about, but there's only one brand of Boston that often gets pushed. There's only one bit of information about Boston that often gets shared. And I feel like reflective appraisal is a thing. So if we are showing the quality and the work and the love of the Black community and the brown community and the people of color here in this city, then people will respect it more, people will love it more, and we can preserve these places like the Tubman House, which is probably something that should have been labeled as like a landmark. And I granted, as you said, maybe we do need more housing, but I'm wondering, even with that situation, was that affordable housing for the people that the original Tubman House was taking care of? So like, I think it's important that we have these stories and that we tell these stories and that people get to see these stories. So yes, that's what I wanted to interject.
Yeah, my
And
concern.
we have something actually from your mom.
Well, my mom.
It says this is Dr.
Yep, that's
Adalmas
my mom.
Garcia,
Yep.
Naheem's
Hi, mommy.
mother. I did enjoy the information given. It was refreshing to see a play or movie that teaches us history without hyperbolic emphasis.
Hi,
She does have a
Mom.
doctorate for that kind of language. Yeah, that's my mama. She follows. She's a fan of me, but she's a fan of Lois. And because since my career started, Lois has been involved, and my mom has watched it grow. So this makes sense. But what I wanted to say about the constant canceling of culture and getting rid of images that we think are offensive and things of that nature. That may be so, but what happens is when we start taking away these things, when we start taking away, Dudley Square, and we're calling it something else, the new kids are growing up without understanding what was here before. You may call it Nubian Square, but the Dudleys and the Roxburys are still buried around the corner. So if you're going to do something on a major level. Changing a name is important because Nubian Notions was a historical place. And I'm glad that they actually gave it a name and they named the square after these folks. But we should also talk about the fact that we still have the Roxbury Dudleys, the Warrens, and the Elliots buried around the corner. I did some work with Urban Ministry, with the big white church. And a lot of the kids didn't know the information. I said, yeah, you go at the corner of Warren and Dudley, and you find out a whole lot about John Elliott. You walk, these are things that we need to know. People don't know. You don't know. I didn't know all my life. Just last week during Juneteenth, I'm at Shirley Street, and I found out Shirley. I'm going to say the last name wrong. Shirley Eustace was our governor, and that big yellow house over there off of Dudley Street on Shirley was his mansion. I go over there, and I'm like checking it out. I'm like, I've never been on that. I lived on Brook Ave off of Dudley Street. I lived in that community. I worked at the First Church. I worked at Roxbury, Children's Services of Roxbury. I'm all over that place. I've never, ever, 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 ever been there. I worked at a school on Shirley Street. Never been in that building. Then I walk into the other side of the property. I'm like, wait a minute. This wasn't just his house. This was a plantation. Then I walk into the barn. They got the tables, people selling all this beautiful African and black stuff. Is just beautiful. And then there's two horse carriages. One looks like it was the what do they call the big ones where people live in, those kind of cars? What do they call, the RVs? One of them looked like it was the RV of its time. The other one looked like it was a nice little Cadillac. But there were two different, horse carriages of that time period. I'm like, this is preserved here. Like, I just didn't know. And I am 57 years old to discover this information now after living in that community. Said to me, if I didn't know this for almost 40 something years, these children gonna grow up and never know this existed. I thought Shirley was a woman until I realized, wait, he was our former governor.
But that's why this is so important to have these stories and have them funded. And, so if there's some people out there.
Say that again, have them what?
Have it funded.
Yes.
So this is why we need to get this up and on film and all that kind of stuff, or series, so that people can definitely know more about Boston and the Black side of the history, because I feel like we don't know enough of that side besides the slavery, but we need
the racism.
Yeah, yes, but exactly. But just to be able to have this side, I think it's very important. So,
like, people's reference of Boston is busing, right?
Correct.
Not understanding that there was Black love and Black community here forever. Exactly. Just like theater. People did not understand, oh, there's Black plays now, there's Black theater. I grew up in Black theater in Boston. I didn't know any, I knew about the others, but I didn't have to deal with them because I was dealing with Black theater in my own community. It was, we had Elma Lewis. I had my grandmother. My grandmother did. My first plays was done in the church at St. Andrews on Amory Street with my grandmother. And then she went ahead and she taught theater arts at Brighton High School. But, it was in my life. So now people need to know that theater has been here forever.
Yeah.
Black entertainment has been here forever.
Yeah.
And not just before busing or by the 50s. It's been here forever. So it's beautiful to hear about the Black love and the Black entertainment and the Black and brown. And like, for example, we have a Cape Verdean community here. I was in Chicago. They didn't even know what a Cape Verdean was. It's the Cape Verdeans that provided such. First of all, they came here for the whaling. They were fishermen. And then they became big time, one of the richest community in Boston for many years. And they've contributed musically. You know about the what is it? What's the jazz festival down in past the Cape, not down Nantucket or one of those. Newport Jazz Festival. Yeah, one of the historical performances ever was a Cape Verdean saxophonist. I can't remember his name, but I got the whole documentary and he broke it down. So I didn't know that. I'm like, wait a minute. The Cape Verdean community was involved very heavily. So these are the things we need to talk about, right? Because everybody thinks it's just white and a few Spanish folks and some Puerto Ricans down. And that's exactly how people refer to it. No, there's a multicultural Hispanic community here. There's a multicultural community from all over the world here that's been here for a long, long time and have contributed to our state. Our state, not just our town, our state.
Right.
And country, by the way.
I always, Krista used the word I like to use because I'm not afraid to ask about money. I'm not. We're artists and everybody says, oh, you're artists and I know you like to live in the world and be creative. No, we like to make money. And we like to fund the projects that we are hoping to do. And as a teacher, I teach about money, okay? Especially in today's world, this is what you want to do. How are you going to fund it? I send them off. Look at Taylor Swift and look at Beyonce. How much did their concerts earn? And what percentage are they bringing in versus how much does it cost them to do what they need to do? I'm saying all this to say, we were talking yesterday as this group, we kind of hung out on a Zoom for a minute. And I said, my dream would be for this to be a 3-year series, the way things are done now, 10 episodes, 30 episodes. And that tracks us from this course of time from before World War I, because you also have to look at that time, before World War II, you're also talking about the Tuskegee Airmen And there are folks like Tanya Hart and her husband who did some of the first documentaries I ever saw about the Tuskegee Airmen. There are people here who have been telling these stories, and I would love to expand on what they've been telling while we still have them around to help tell it. So yeah, I could see this being done for 3 years. We talk about shooting people for 3 years. So I think we can do, we don't always have to be about murder and destruction. We can talk about love and reality. I'm not trying to paint a pretty picture of everything.
No,
But
I totally agree. And bringing up funding, and no, I'm not making a pitch, but I am saying
you can though.
yes, but what I started doing personally is I look at, you get things like American Cancer Society and stuff like that, and I years ago decided, no, if I'm giving money, I'm giving it to the folks that I personally know need it. So other than family and relatives and friends and stuff like that, like if somebody's doing GoFundMe for their film, that's where I'm gonna give it. And I can't believe how much people appreciate it too. They're like, wow, and it won't even be that much, but it's that you're giving at all. It's what you can give. Whereas some of the big corporations, it's like they won't know. I mean, if I give to American Cancer Society, yeah, my dad died of lung cancer, so there's a reason I would, but it's like they don't know I do it. But if I donate to Lois Roach
Listening.
GoFundMe, then
Lois Roach GoFundMe,
well,
right?
Lizing, I definitely did to Lizing, but if
Me
I do,
too.
Roach has a GoFundMe for his thing, that's gonna make a difference. If I donated $50, that might pay that day's catering services for the crew and cast, those kind of things, or at least craft services. So these things that you donate to somebody that's a filmmaker, you donate what you can, but it doesn't have to be, yes, they'd like 100,000, but if you donate 25, it's going to something that they truly need it. Now they have the prop that looks more realistic that they wanted to use. Now they can rent something that they wanted. That's just my feeling on the arts. And same thing with RoxFilm. Now they can do this kind of a thing, whatever. But that I think when people are thinking of donating, they aren't necessarily realizing how much help it is when you donate to some film's GoFundMe page.
But I also don't want to take away, this is an industry. And I also don't want the industry to lose responsibility here. Because as Cord Jefferson, am I saying that? Yes.
Yes.
As he said in his announcement when he accepted his Oscar, he said, what if instead of giving somebody 100 million, you give 10 people 10 million? And then you still increase, especially the way we are all in touch with each other over these low 25 to 30 years. Now you're increasing your profit on that $10 million film by another 30 to 40 to 50%. Black Panther was sold out before the thing was even fully shot. It was sold out because we were all emailing, texting, talking, tweeting, gramming. We knew this thing was coming out. So when they were, oh my goodness, this little movie, some of which I believe was also shot on Mass Ave, when, this little movie came out and made a whole lot of money, they were shocked and surprised. Really? So yes, I hear you, Andrea, I'm also getting older. I ain't got time to raise a whole lot of money for a GoFundMe. I mean, I know I understand and I value that, but I also realize that I believe in what Cord Jefferson said. There are ways to do this. Back in the day before strikes and everything, where industry did like to make some money. I'll stop right there.
And our last thing before we wrap up is Adrian DeSimone, or DeSimone, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, said, not to mention Spike Lee funded a movie entirely through crowdfunding called The Sweet Blood of Jesus. And so
he started with She's Gotta Have It.
Yep.
And credit cards.
And wrote a book wrote a book for each film when he
Right.
was doing it. So then that helped also because you have all the film students and everybody reading the how he did it. And
Right.
that makes you want to see the next one. So
Right.
yeah,
So
Right.
for all
he's,
these college
he's
students,
excellent.
for all these college students that come here to study film and acting, go do what you got to do, but bring it back home. Bring it back to Boston. Because
And
this
learn
industry here is
marketing
good.
and learn the
Yeah.
marketing too, because that's all the other thing that Spike Lee did, because Spike Lee would always somehow get into the paper, not just the entertainment section, but something else. You have something else going on so that you're in the regular front page of the paper. But now we've got to wrap it up. And thank you everyone. Thank you all the actors. Thank you, Lois. Thank you for the audience. And tomorrow is our surprise. So it will not be a new author or anything like that. It's a surprise reading. And it's always a fun thing. So we'll see tomorrow what it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.